Good afternoon. Good afternoon. This is Dr. Martha Simmons with another session of Preaching and Preachers on Facebook Live and YouTube. Good afternoon. It is a sunny Monday here in Atlanta. Come on in and let me know that you are out there. Good morning to my people on the West Coast who get up early to join the broadcast when it's live. Shout out to the people in the Midwest and the folk on the East Coast, and certainly those in the dirty South. Good afternoon. Come on in and let me know that you are out there. It's a Potpourri Monday, which means I'm going to say a little bit about a lot of things. Come on in and let me know that you are out there. And when you come in, tag somebody. Let them know that they can check out the broadcast right now while it's live, or it will be up on my page for a couple of weeks and then on YouTube for much longer. Karen Downing, good afternoon. Good to have you with me. Let's see, Cassandra Jones, it's been a minute. Good to have you with me. All right, Reverend Casey, good afternoon. Lisa Jenkins Brown, all right. She says she's multitasking and she's with me. Pastor Jenkins is always multitasking. Ivy Scudder, Pastor Scudder, it's good to have you with me. Come on in, everybody. And when you come in, type in the name of another person you know that will be helped by this broadcast. We're talking about so many things. Shay Bess, all right. Good afternoon. The folk are coming in. Going to give people about 30 more seconds to come on in for the broadcast. All right. Let me see here. Let me do a little screen adjustment. People, you got all the things you have to do when you're online. You have to remember to adjust the screen. Linwood McCarver, good to have you with me. All right. Let's go ahead and get started so that I can cover as many things as possible. As always, we are praying for those who are sick, praying for those who are experiencing a season of bereavement, and we're praying for those who are being hurt by our government, this administration, especially children and seniors. All right. Hold on just a minute here. All right. You just have to take care of things when you see them. All right. Thank you for joining me on Restream and on YouTube. Join me on June 16th. June 16th for a special session on divorce with Dr. Irene Lynn Session, Reverend Cynthia McCants, Dr. Christopher Davis, Dr. John Faison, and Dr. Corey Jones. That's June 16th. The topic will be divorce. And then on June 23rd, join me for Dr. Vanessa Lovelace and Dr. Stephanie Crowder. We're going to talk about their recent books, do a little bit of stuff on the Bible, give you some information about commentaries. And then June 30th, I'm going to round out the month with my partner in crime, the Reverend Dr. Frank Anthony Thomas. So June is packed. Be sure to join me. All right. It is a Potpourri Monday. Potpourri Monday, gonna say a little bit about a lot of things today. We're gonna cover 5 or 6 topics depending upon how much time I have. First topics. Should churches support our Black seminaries? Our Black seminaries, we've got 7 remaining. The Interdenominational Theological Center, also known as ITC. We've got Howard, we've got Payne, we've got Hampton, Shaw, Hood, and Samuel DeWitt Proctor Seminary at Virginia Union. And unfortunately, 2 of those are in pretty bad shape financially and in terms of enrollment. And we've read all the stories, and we know that seminaries are suffering everywhere. Some are suffering due to low enrollment, some are suffering due to their inability to raise money, and others are suffering due to poor mismanagement. Let's just tell the truth. Bad management. And then some are also suffering due to racism. There's money that white seminaries get that Black seminaries do not, even though it's supposed to be equal, it's not. So should churches support Black seminaries? Now, we expect seminaries tied to denominations. We expect those denominations and their churches to support those seminaries. Although I've learned that that's not always the case. In other words, the denomination might offer some support, but they don't ask the churches to support even the seminaries in their own denominations. And I think, especially at a time like this, that we need to give more support to Black seminaries. We need to give, and it's good to support seminaries, period, but certainly to Black seminaries. Support them. And for those that are not doing as well as they could, encourage them to change and improve their practices for enrollment, their practices for teaching, and their offerings as seminaries. Encourage them, and you can do that. You've got to encourage them because bad management among so many of our schools, our seminaries, we're not talking about HBCUs today. We're not talking about the colleges, just seminaries. Bad management can no longer be ignored. Schools with professors that never publish, or professors who use the same syllabi for 10 or more years, or the same seminaries have doctoral programs, and the professors don't respond to the students in a timely fashion. None of that is acceptable. It's just not acceptable anymore. So if your church doesn't send money to a Black seminary, encourage them to do so. And you can also send recommendations. If you give money, you can give a recommendation too for change and uplift at the seminary you support. Then, if you want seminaries to do better, consider joining a seminary board. There are some of you out there with money and contacts and know-how, and there are boards that would love to have you. And yes, they might ask you to raise money, and you should. But if you don't join a board, if you give money, offer names. Say to someone at the school, this person would be a great board member for the following reason. And, most of us know at least one wealthy person with good board acumen. So give a name as well. That is a major way to support. Okay, that's a major way to support. And then do a day at your church for a seminary. If not several, at least one. I know we do college day, and that's wonderful. But we also need to consider, if not every year, at least every other year, have a day at your church and say, this money is all going to support this seminary because we believe in theological education, okay? And then if you're in a denomination that has a seminary, when you go to denominational meetings, mention that your seminaries need support. Get it put on the agenda. Get it put on the agenda. We go to all of these denominational meetings and we'll say we have schools and never bring up the schools. Never bring up the schools, and we leave that to the presidents, the deans, etc. No, this is everybody's business. This is everybody's business if you believe in theological education. If you believe in theological education, okay? So make sure that you are supporting Black seminaries. If not now, okay, it's going to be too late. Do it today. Do it now in this season. This is Dr. Martha Simmons with another session of Preaching and Preachers on Facebook Live and on YouTube. If you are on, type in the name of another person, tag someone. They can jump on now, or this will be up on my page for a couple of weeks and on YouTube for much longer. Second topic I want to talk about: how can we help churches learn that pastoring is not a one-person job? How can we do that? Clergy are not faring well. You all see it all the time. The burnout numbers are high. The number of clergy that are just saying, I'm out, not retiring. They're just don't want to run churches anymore because it is difficult work. It is very, very difficult work, okay? And churches need to learn how difficult the work is and do more to support pastors and help pastors avoid burnout. I mean, every time I look around, especially at our young pastors who are 40, 45 and under, I mean, they are drinking themselves to death. Everybody needs a blunt, and they are just worn out. Okay, whatever the causes are. Well, one of the causes certainly is trying to do too many things, and often our clergy are working two jobs, because they're at small churches. Remember, the median size of a church in America, whether it's a Black church, white church, Asian, or Latinx, it's less than 100 people. Less than 100 people. Many churches open every single weekend, seeing 30 to 40 people. And so pastors are working 60 and 70 hours a week. How can we help them? First of all, for pastors, and I have 15, 16 kids in ministry, and I've so many of them are pastoring. And I've had to tell them across the years, stop micromanaging. Okay. I know micromanagers, and those are pastors who think it's not going to be done well if I don't do it, or so and so is going to mess it up, so I might as well do it myself. No, you can't do everything, especially if you're working two jobs. You just cannot. Someone else at the church, they may not do it as well as you do it. They may not be as trained as you, but they'll do a decent job. Accept that. that is better than working yourself to death. Okay? That's better than working yourself to death. So, number one, don't micromanage. If you stop micromanaging, you're also teaching your church that you're not going to do everything. And we definitely should have learned this during COVID-19. Okay. So, of course, the question then becomes, but Doc, how do I get folk to volunteer? It's hard to get folk to volunteer. I am glad you asked. Okay. And this is for people, 30 members, 50 members. What can I do with that smaller church? Number one, if you want to build a volunteer core, okay, a strong group of volunteers, first, ask people. Just ask people directly and tell them clearly what you want them to do. So if you need an IT volunteer, don't just ask them, don't just say, I need somebody to run the soundboard. Tell them their role and how it will help elevate the work of the church and the work of God's kingdom or kingdom, depending upon your language. Also, make positions accessible. Okay. Unless you have to, don't keep people in a role more than 5 to 7 years, unless they're, your deacons or something like that. People will become afraid to volunteer because they see the same people in charge of everything year after year after year. They wouldn't even know who to ask if they were interested, or you might have them thinking that people stay in positions for life. Okay. So make your volunteerism accessible to people. Okay. Now, you can even allow people to sign up on your website or through some other means. Let people know positions are available. And again, highlight or give them the why. Make it really clear. Okay. And by highlighting the why, I mean connect volunteerism to the church's mission. To the church's mission. Show them how what they are doing aligns with your overall vision and purpose for the church. And you can even tell them some stories of how people in a particular role have had a major impact on the church. All of that matters. Remember, you're trying to build a core. So you need to talk to people about service and the importance of service. And then if you really want to build a core, and I volunteered in numerous churches, appreciate your volunteers. And we don't do this enough in our churches. We just don't do it enough. Appreciate your volunteers. We will put up 10 flyers about our church over a given year as pastors, and none of them mentions our volunteers. You need to thank and appreciate your volunteers. These are people working for free because they love their church, they love God, and it also just appreciate them. Send a thank you card every now and then, especially to those people who've been doing the same job 5 or 6 years and are doing it well. All right. And build community among all of your volunteers. Maybe, once a year at least have a potluck. Oh, or you cater, have it catered. That's even better. Don't make the volunteers work. Have it catered to encourage the volunteers and thank them as well. Okay. And then also, if you want to build a core, You need to train people. This is one we really don't do well. We've got to do better at training people. People want to volunteer, but they also want to do a good job. So they need training. People need hands-on training. Don't just say, we want you to be an usher and get a uniform, and we'll have a couple of classes and show you how to pass plates or whatever your ushers do. Walk them through everything. If they are people working in your parking lot, your children's ministry, your men's ministry, your ministry to people who are housing insecure, your clothes ministry, maybe you've got a legal ministry. People need training. They need training. Okay. Make sure. And in addition to giving people hands on training, write it down. I don't understand why churches been around 50, 60, 70 years don't have every ministry, don't have an explanation and how to's written down for that ministry. Well, if you don't have it, AI Chat GPT can help you. You can give them just a few prompts and they will tell you what ushers do. They will tell you how to run a ministry for people who are housing insecure. It should be written down. You've got to write it down as part of training people. And once you write it down, then people can say, oh, this says so and so. Exactly what do you mean? Okay. In 2025, many of the people in our churches have never done church. They didn't grow up with mom and them. They have never done church. So that memory that you think is there of another church, it's not there. It is not there. Please, please train people. If you've got good older leaders, people who are good at training, people who are friendly, let them help do the training. But people have got to be trained. Make your church a haven for volunteers. It's volunteer friendly. I love visiting churches and seeing people who are happy greeters, people who they just love to do what they do, because the church has an atmosphere of volunteerism. Okay. And again, these people should show up sometime on your flyers, in your videos, on your reels. Okay. Appreciate your volunteers and remove the barriers. Don't have people thinking, oh, you can only work with the women's ministry if you are over 50. You can only work with the men's ministry, or you can only work with this ministry if you have a certain level of education. Remove all of those barriers. If you want people to serve, if you really want people to serve and feel wanted, you have to promote it. You have to promote it. And pastors, I know it's tiring, but it's better than killing yourself. Promote volunteerism, make the announcements, ask people individually, social media, word of mouth, ministry fairs, where every organization at the table, every organization, at your church has a table. And you can even offer internships at your church. That's right. Often ministers need internships. And if you would hook up with schools, send schools your announcements, people will come and intern at your church. They may only be able to do it for a semester, maybe 2 semesters, but every bit will help. All right. And then finally, if you want to build a volunteer core, strong core volunteerism, once a year at least, seek anonymous feedback. You can do it through having people stick their comments in a box. You can do it online, having people use only numbers and not their names. They can put the comments in an offering plate, whatever it is. Get feedback from your volunteers about how they feel about volunteering um, at your church. And someone said pastors have to be trained to work with volunteers. Well, in a perfect world, that would be the case. But even if the pastor's not trained, someone at that church is. And the pastor can get that person to make sure that others are trained. Okay. The pastor can't do it. Someone said they started a hospitality ministry because the ushers were not welcoming. Okay. And you'll find often when people are not welcoming, who is supposed to be ushers, nobody trained them. Nobody trained them. They thought their job was to uh, get people out of seats, make sure that the programs last, those kinds of things. They were not trained. They were not trained. So train your people. And then, as you get recommendations, feedback, etc., make the adjustments you need to make. Most often, the adjustments will be that you need to allow people to move around. Do not believe that because someone was an usher for 4 years, that's all they can ever be. People can do a variety of things in churches. The reason I could do everything in a church early on is because I moved around. I was allowed to move around. I was allowed to work with the kids, to usher, to sing in the choir, to work with the women's mission, to work with the prison ministry. People can move around. All right. Okay. The next thing I want to say something about, and this is pretty quick, shout cues and runs. Shout cues and runs. Um, Cadence is the sound of the era, and everybody knows that by now. You've listened to all of the pastors with cadence. There are more preachers out here with cadence in their voices now. And shout cues and runs work well with the sound of this era. But please be clear, especially about runs. Runs are an easy trap, and they will eat a text alive. And by that, I mean you won't even think about having to do a great deal of exegesis because you got such great runs. Someone sent me a sermon about 3 or 4 weeks ago, and they had, I think, 8 runs. Eight, and I mean 8 series, not just 8 things, 8 series of runs in this sermon. And I texted them and said, where's the exegesis? Don't give me just one-liners that lead me into your runs. Where is the exegesis? Okay. And that's what I mean. Runs can be so powerful that you will look up and you don't have a sermon. You just have a bunch of runs. Okay. And I love runs. I really do. But you can't overdo them. You have to do the exegetical work first, runs second. Okay? Yes, and I understand the power of a run. Okay? But you have to do your exegetical work as well. And then of course for shout cues, we just need to pull back. Just pull back and stop being lazy. Just stop being lazy. Shout cues like, is there anybody in here who loves the Lord but me? Open up your mouth and give God some praise. Blah, 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 blah. And these are things intended, of course, to get people to shout. They are cues to get people to shout. make sure, make sure, make sure. Someone said, give an example of a run. Okay, let's say you're talking about the oppression. I just gave an example of a shout cue. Let's say, so for run, let's say you're talking about the oppression suffered by Black folk. Black folk are over policed, undereducated, redlined, locked out, looked over, demoralized, shot down, kept out. That's a run. That's a run. Okay. And it's usually given in list of 3, 5, 7s, 10, 13s, etc. That's a run. But again, like I said, they're good and they're dangerous. Do your exegetical work first in your time of study and worry about your runs second. Okay. Um, so let's get, pay attention to that. All right. Next, I want to talk about how do you get new voices heard while still honoring elders. Number one, we get new voices heard by letting them preach, letting them do workshops, letting them do lectures, by inviting people to do it, whether you invite them from the outside or somebody in your church. We get new voices heard by congratulating people on their achievements publicly. That's right. Those congratulatory comments that you see on Facebook and elsewhere, those matter and they promote work that individuals are doing. You get new voices heard by training them and not hogging stages. For the last, I know it's been at least 15 years, I have been giving out names of other folk. People will call me and say, can you teach this workshop? Can you preach? Can you do etc.? And often I will say, I'm not available, but can I give you 2 names? And I always have 2 names available, 2 names of men, women, old people, etc. 2 names. All right. Always have some and call some other names. It's amazing to me how many preachers never get enough of preaching. They have to go everywhere. They have to do every revival. They have to do every workshop and every lecture. Okay. Support someone else and do it without expecting anything in return. Just do it because you wanted someone to promote you. So do the same. And often when I give people's names, I don't even call and tell them. Just give the names and keep it moving. We get new voices heard by rotating our preachers. I don't know what it is. And I guess the pastor just says, I like a particular person, but think twice about having the same revivalist for 7, 8, 10, 15 years. That's okay. The people really do want to hear someone else. They really do. They really, really do. Okay. And I understand, I know about, I invited you because you invite me because we're friends and etc. But you've got more than one friend. And you should want to make some new friends, okay? And like I said, here's the truth of the matter is these people that we keep inviting 7, 8, 9, 10 years, nobody's churches, no churches are really filled up anymore for revivals and things like that, or regular morning service for that matter. Most people just go to church 2 Sundays a month now. So new voices. Give people a chance. You wanted people to give you a chance. Give someone else a chance. That's how you get new voices heard. I always hear people, I'm so sick of seeing the same preachers. Well, you don't do anything to promote anybody else. You don't do anything, right? you can actually do something to do it, okay, to help that. Invite people. You might invite a new voice to do a workshop and then congratulate them online for having done a good job or put them in a great reel. And you would be amazed at how far that will go. How far that will go. Okay? You would be amazed. Now, I want to, and I'm always supporting new voices, younger voices, etc. But I also want elders to be honored. We live in a throwaway culture. We really, really do. We live in a throwaway culture. The moment you get old, we want you out of the way in too many instances. And unless you have a huge church or something that you're still pastoring, we're done with you. And even when you have a huge church, if you're a certain age, people just, they don't call you. You just, you can say it, you can preach at your church. So I want all of us to be honored. And it's not as hard as we make it. We just have to give some attention to it. Okay. So, how do you honor the elders, especially those who are no longer senior pastors or working in denominational positions? Text them, call them, send them cards for their birthday, and or call upon them to do some training, perhaps of your younger clergy or some other group in your church. And then when you see them in public at IC3 and Hampton and the National Baptist Convention and the Church of God in Christ gathering and all of those AME gatherings, treat them well. Treat them to a meal, okay? You would be amazed at how far that will go just to uplift people who believe that they have been forgotten. Just any little thing. And of course, they appreciate birthday wishes online, etc. On several occasions at conferences, I paid for the registration for an elder. And people have done it for me. I guess, I'm an elder at this point. But all of those things uplift and encourage and honor elders and let them know you appreciated their work. They may not be in the limelight now, but you're standing on their shoulders. And certainly, if they are your pastor emeritus or something like that, to do something for them periodically at church, okay? But we've got to do a better job. This is just, we're too siloed. We are too siloed. We got the young folk over here saying, you all want change, and the old folks saying you all have thrown out the baby and the bathwater. It's ridiculous. It is ridiculous, and it does not have to be. If we will stop siloing. So I should not see a flyer and everybody on the flyer is over 50. Everybody. It's ridiculous. It is ridiculous. Or unless it's a special occasion for young people include elders as well. Stop the silo stuff. It's not biblical. We can't afford it. Okay. All right. Now, let's get to also, let me say this one other thing about our elders, especially those that are over 70. Many of them are lonely. That's right. They are no longer pastoring and they feel thrown away. So visits and phone calls go a long way. Just remember that, especially for those who are sick. I want to, with the rest of my time, talk about engagement fees for 2025 and beyond. I want to thank all the clergy who responded to my texts, my calls, and my emails to help me get these numbers. I've been reaching out to people, I think, since January to get this information. And most of you know, over the past decade, I primarily compiled these statistics for women clergy, just women. And you remember, you might have heard them on the Women of Color in Ministry broadcast. But today's numbers are for men and women. Men and women. And I reached out to people across the country, north, east, south, and west. And I was able to get 238 total comments. And I know that's representative of us. And I purposely went across denominations, just to be clear. Okay. But I also want to be clear that these numbers just represent clergy and churches, not nonprofits, colleges and universities. That's a whole nother level of work. And it's hard enough just to get these numbers, because some people will send you part of what you asked for, then you got to ask for the rest of it. Some people want to know what you're doing with it, etc., and that leads to a phone call. Anyway, thank you to those who helped me get the numbers. I also want to apologize that I do not have numbers for musicians. A large number of musicians watch my broadcast, and I want to apologize, but I don't have those numbers. I don't have enough reach within that community to get those numbers. But David Brawley and Tony McNeil, people like that, they can get those numbers, and I'm sure at some point they will. So let's talk about what we get paid for engagements. Preachers generally pay individuals for preaching and workshops just as everyone else in their community will do. And this is truer in hierarchical faith communities such as Presbyterian, United Methodists, and Lutherans. If you're in one of those communities, they pretty much pay the same thing. This is not as true in non-hierarchical faith communities that can do whatever they wish, like including National Baptist, Southern Baptist, Pentecostal, Church of God in Christ. Those are not hierarchical denominations. They can pay whatever they choose to pay. But over the last, I want to say, it's been about, given the numbers that I was collecting for women, it appears that in the last 6 or 7 years, even the non-hierarchical denominations are paying more in line with others in their faith community. So, word gets around, and I think there was a sense of, I guess, everyone wanting to do something similar, or at least be in the same ballpark. Okay. Also want you to know this. The higher the educational level of a senior or a lead pastor, the higher the pay scale in that church that they lead. And that's, once they've been there a while and they really are the pastor, those churches tend to pay more. Now, if a former pastor paid guest poorly, especially an educated pastor, they will tend to work to get that amount increased, and you may have to do that coming in. Understandably, larger churches can afford to pay more to those who come to their churches to preach, do workshops, and to do lectures, okay? However, regardless of the church's wealth, women are typically paid less than men to preach, provide workshops, and do lectures. Unfortunately, this has always been true and it remains true. Yes, it is better, but there's a great deal of work that needs to be done. It's also true that women and men who are pastors get paid more than those who are not. Why? Because people are looking for a return engagement, and what they gave you, they are hoping you will give them. Okay, so that's just the way it is. Women scholars also get paid less than male scholars, whether they're doing a lecture or sermon or workshop in person or on Zoom. So much of what we do now, especially in terms of training, is on Zoom. It's on Zoom. I mean, I've done more Zoom work in the last 5 years, I think, than I've done in my entire life. Everything, training especially, so much of it is on Zoom. But like I said, unfortunately, women are being paid less. So what do you do? What do you do? And I get this every year, and I'm not, well, I guess we keep getting new people in ministry, so I guess that's why. But typically, the people who bring this up are not new. You've got three choices, at least three, not at four, but at least three. Okay. When it comes to what you are paid, number one, you can indicate your price up front, and that allows you to take into consideration the size of the church. It might be small, mid-size, whatever. Your relationship with the pastor, do you know them, trust them, etc., to be fair? You can take into consideration whether you're selling books or other items, and future possibilities. In other words, uh, is this a likely return engagement? And again, this applies if you're preaching, a workshop, or a lecture, etc. You've got the choice to indicate your price up front. And yes, there are consequences for doing that. Okay. Like I said, nowadays, a significant amount of the work that I do is on Zoom. But even on Zoom, the same applies. The same applies. You can decide, okay, you can decide as the person doing the sermon, the workshop, or the lecture, your price up front. Number two, you can accept what is given. And if it is less than what you believe you should have been given, should have been paid, you can complain about it later. Okay. Especially to your friends. Number three, you can accept what is given and move on and say nothing. I've done 1 and 3. You can name your price. I don't know why this is so difficult. Be honest. If you are afraid that if you say something you won't get invited back, then don't complain about being underpaid. You can't have it both ways. You can't have it both ways. Okay. You really cannot. Like I said, especially for preachers who are 40 and up, make up your mind. Make up your mind. Okay. But whatever you do, whatever you decide, it's your decision, and it's what you believe is best for you. I have people who will tell you, I've never named a price. That's fine. That's your decision. Someone else might make a different decision. Women who, especially those who are not pastors, okay, who are not senior pastors, who never name a price, always get underpaid. I can guarantee it. I can guarantee it. And if that's okay with you, then fine. Then fine. Okay. But there's nothing wrong with simply saying thank you for inviting me to do your ABC day and for offering or paying my honorarium of $500, $700, $1,000, along with my airfare and lodging and food, those kinds of things. There's nothing wrong with that. Okay, there's nothing wrong. But that there are churches that'll be offended and they might not invite you back. So, like I said, there are consequences. Just think about it. But the more you do this, especially women, like I said, you will learn. You will learn that if you never say anything, most often you will get underpaid. Now let me say a little bit more about what the current pay scale is. Okay, let me just say about it. And it's changed a bit since COVID-19. And there have been so many churches that have closed. The statistics indicate that in 2025, it is expected that approximately 15,000 churches, Black, white, Latinx, Asian, will close. Okay, that is the expectation. Okay, so I just know that. And my guess, given past figures, is that these numbers that I'm about to give you, given a variety of variables, will remain the same from 2025 through 2027, and maybe even through November 2028, or the end of Trump's term. And be clear, what he is doing is impacting what people pay in church, which in turn affects church budgets, of course, including the fees paid to guest clergy. But like I said, I think these numbers will, well, I'm pretty sure they will be. And this is from years and years and years of gathering numbers and watching them change at certain points and then not change. Let me begin by saying none of these figures and nothing I'm about to give you applies to churches with 1,000 members or more, because less than 2% of all churches, Black, white, Latino, Latinx, Asian American, have 1,000 members. So, especially nowadays. So these stats don't concern them because it's 2%. Someone said it's 1.97, etc. Okay. Also, these stats are not for people who do not believe that clergy should be paid or ask for offerings and etc. If that's what you believe, these stats are not for you. This section of the broadcast will be of no interest to you. All right. Let me just get all of that up front. Church size. And like I said, the education of the pastor often has something to do with the pay scale. Also, younger churches, meaning 50 years or younger, tend to pay more than older churches, unless the churches, of course, are bigger. Just one of those things that's been shown. Let's start with a church that has 700 members. 700 members. The less hierarchical the church, the greater the pay. Typically, but like I said, more non-hierarchical churches are starting to pay the same thing. For preachers with 5 to 7 years or less, or preaching experience for one sermon, the pay is $400 to $500. If it's 700 members, for two sermons, it's $750. Okay, for 2 sermons, if they have 750 700 people in the seats, not on roll, in the seats. Preachers with 6 to 12 years or more experience at a 700 preaching at a 700 member church, they're paid $750 for one sermon. For two sermons, it's $1,000 to $1,200. Okay. If a person is a senior pastor and they preach for a 700 member church for one sermon, they expect to get or can expect to get $1,000. If they are women pastors, they can expect to get $750. Okay. Because remember, I said earlier, we do that trade-off thing. And most women don't have 700 members in their church. So the women get $750, men get $1,000 for two sermons, especially like during our revival. And I asked this of almost everyone. The amount is $2,000 for men and $1,500 for women, right? If they're friends of yours, or again, they want a return engagement, then of course it goes up. All right. Now, let's get to the churches that have 300 to 400 members. 300 to 400 members. Excuse me. For women, with 5 to 7 years, women and men with 5 to 7 years or less preaching experience, you can expect $200 for one sermon, maybe $250. Men get $300. If you've got 7 or more years of experience and you're preaching to a 300 to 400 member congregation for one sermon, women get $350, some cases $400. The men get $450 to $500. Okay, these are the numbers. If you're a senior pastor who preaches for a 300 to 400 member church, women typically get $400 and the men get $500 per sermon. Okay. Let's say that the church is a 200 to 300 member church. Men and women, 5 to 7 years or less preaching experience, you're going to get $150 to $200. Right. Then you get to the men at these $200 and $300, 200 to 300 member churches. The men are going to get $300. The women again are going to get $150 to $200. Okay. And if you've got 6 to 12 years or more experience, the women are going to get $300. The men will get $400. If you're a senior pastor preaching for a 200 to 300 member church, the women are going to get $350 to $400. The men are going to get $400 to $500. Okay, $400 to $500. So you'll know what to expect, right? Let's say that the church has 100 to 150 members. Women and men with 5 to 7 years or less preaching experience can expect to get $200. Men may get $250. May get, okay? The more experienced, meaning 6 to 12 years and up, women, again, they're still going to get about $200, and the men can get from $250 to $300. If you are a pastor, you're going to get $250 to $300. And then let's go to the churches. Sorry about that noise. Let's go to the churches with 50 to 100 members. 50 to 100 members, and that's the median size church in America. That's the median size. That's where most people are going to preach these days. Okay, be clear about that. So if you're a woman or a man with 5 to 7 years of experience going to preach at a church with 50 to 100 members, women can expect to get $150. Men can expect to get $200. More experienced, 7 to 12 years and up in terms of experience, women can expect to get 200 to 250. Men get 300. If you are a senior pastor preaching at a church with 50 to 100 members, women pastors will be paid $250 to $300. Male pastors will be paid $300 to $350. And like I said, remember those other variables. If they're a friend of yours, you expect a return engagement. All of those things matter. So I hope these numbers are helpful. I hope we are clear. And someone said, can I provide this electronically? Sean, I guess I could. But again, just know, just so that you won't be shocked, this is basically what is going on. And also remember that times are getting harder. So you might get $50 less than what you expected, and it doesn't matter. Okay? It really doesn't matter for whether or not you have an MD. It helps in some instances, but it really doesn't matter. The numbers are the numbers. So you can ask for your price up front and say, here's what my honorarium should be, whether it's a workshop, a lecture, a sermon, or something you're doing over Zoom. Or you can accept what's given and complain about it later. Or you can accept what's given and not complain about it and be one of those people who say it'll work itself out. But women, let me guarantee you something. It usually will not work itself out. You will usually get underpaid. And the hope is, as we continue to educate our men, more men attend seminary with women, that women will get paid equally. Also, know this, women, if you've got male friends who are clergy, tell them to make sure that they are looking out for sisters. Someone said, I'm going to tell them to refer to Dr. Simmons' pay scale. That's funny. But these are just basic numbers. These are just basic number, okay? And Pastor Gail Rice, Reverend Gail Rice says, it does not work itself out. I'm a witness. Oh, no, honey. I'm about at year, 40 plus. It does not work itself out. If you don't ask for it up front, I can tell you from hundreds of other women, okay, it will not work itself out. But I wanted us, and I spent almost 3 months getting the numbers, going back over the numbers, calling, etc., because I'm wanting us to get on the same page, because nobody prints the numbers. So I hope this was helpful. Thank you for watching. This will be up on my page, as I said, for 2 weeks, and up on YouTube for much longer. And then on June 16th, please join me for the special broadcast, and the subject will be divorce with Dr. Ireland Session, Reverend Cynthia McCants, Dr. Christopher Davis, Dr. John Faison, and Dr. Corey Jones. And last but not least, as always, no, two things. Number one, thank you for hitting my Cash App. I am an independent scholar. So I do this work on my own, or I pay others to assist me in doing it. So I appreciate your hitting my Cash App. Love my work 123. That's what it is. Now, last but not least, share the video. It won't cost you anything, and it will help someone. Share the video. God bless. Hope everybody has a great week. See you next time.